Silence. To most people, it looks like weakness. In a world where voices shout to be heard, where noise is celebrated as strength, silence is mistaken for fear. But the truth is different. Silence is not the absence of power. Silence is its highest form. Think about the loudest voice in the room. It demands attention, it fills the air, but rarely does it carry weight. Now think about the one who sits still, who speaks little, who waits. Eyes drift toward him without knowing why. His silence is not emptiness, it is command. History reveals this power. When Marcus Aurelius was betrayed by men he trusted, he did not respond with a storm of anger. He wrote in his journal, reminding himself to remain calm, to act with reason, to master his tongue. The silence of the emperor was not weakness. It was strength stronger than words. Or imagine the battlefield. Soldiers wait for the order. Noise fills the camp, nerves rattle, chaos brews. Then the commander raises his hand and says nothing. In that silence, every man freezes. Attention sharpens, hearts pound. One gesture, one silence, more powerful than 100 words. We live in a world where people rush to respond, to argue, to defend. But the one who can pause, the one who can choose silence, carries an invisible sword. It cuts deeper than anger. It shields better than shouting. It commands more respect than noise ever could. Ask yourself, when was the last time you lost power because you spoke too soon? When was the last time anger drove you to words that built regret instead of respect? And what would have happened if you had chosen silence instead? Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. Silence is discipline. And in the hands of those who master it, silence is freedom. The Stoics understood silence long before the world forgot it. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." For him, silence was not empty space. It was the foundation of wisdom. To listen is to learn. To remain silent is to gain what noise loses. Every word you speak is a coin spent, but every silence you keep is a coin saved. The undisciplined man spends words wildly, trying to buy approval, trying to prove himself. The disciplined man invests his silence, and when he finally speaks, his words carry the weight of gold. Think of a heated moment. Someone insults you, their words sharp and cutting. Most will strike back, desperate to defend pride. But the Stoic remains still. He breathes, he watches, he chooses silence. And in that silence, he gains 2 victories. First, over his anger. Second, over the one who tried to control him. For nothing disarms an enemy faster than the silence of self-control. Marcus Aurelius practiced this discipline daily. He ruled the most powerful empire in the world, yet he wrote to himself, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." His silence was not the silence of fear, but the silence of mastery. When his generals argued, when his enemies mocked, he did not waste his voice on chaos. He saved it for command. And that is why his words endure when the shouts of others have long vanished. Modern life despises silence. Social media rewards noise, opinions, endless streams of words. People fear silence because it makes them face themselves. But the Stoics leaned into it. They sought silence in nature, in meditation, in the stillness of dawn. They knew silence sharpens the mind, just as a blade is sharpened against the stone. Ask yourself, do you fear silence, or do you use it? Do you rush to fill every gap with words, or do you have the discipline to wait? What could change in your life if you spoke less and listened more? Silence is not emptiness. Silence is clarity. It strips away noise, it reveals truth, it gives you power no argument can take. The Stoics knew it. The wise practice it. And if you would master your mind, you must master your silence. Silence is not passive. It is a weapon, sharper than any blade, invisible but undeniable. The man who controls his tongue in the moment of anger carries a sword no one sees but everyone feels. Picture 2 men in conflict. The first shouts, his face red, his words spilling like fire. The second stands calm, silent, unshaken. Who has the power? The loud one may seem strong, but his noise betrays his weakness. The silent one radiates mastery, his control piercing deeper than words ever could. This is the sword of silence. It strikes without moving. It wins without fighting. It disarms without drawing blood. And in a world addicted to reaction, the one who wields this sword is unstoppable. The Stoics knew this weapon well. They practiced it daily, not to hide, but to rule themselves. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Silence is often the highest reaction, the choice that denies chaos, the victory it craves. Think of your own life. How many arguments escalated because you could not remain silent? How many relationships fractured because you answered anger with anger? And how many could have been saved if you had drawn the invisible sword, if you had chosen silence instead? Ask yourself, do you carry this weapon, or are you defenseless in the noise of the world? Do you master silence, or does noise master you? Silence is not natural. It must be trained, just like strength, just like courage, just like discipline itself. The mind wants to react, to justify, to defend. But silence demands restraint, and restraint is the highest proof of mastery. The Stoics practiced this discipline deliberately. They meditated in the mornings, rising early to sit with themselves in stillness. They sought solitude, not as escape, but as training. To be silent with the self is to face the self, to strip away the noise of the world and hear the voice within. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations, not for the world, but for himself, in silence. Each word was born from hours of stillness, each lesson from moments of reflection. His empire was loud, filled with voices demanding, soldiers shouting, advisors pressing. Yet he carved silence within, and in that silence he built an empire greater than Rome, the empire of his own mind. You too can train this discipline. When anger rises, breathe before you speak. When insult strikes, pause before you reply. When the world pushes noise upon you, step into silence and guard your peace. Each time you resist the urge to fill the void, you strengthen the muscle of silence. Silence does not mean you never speak. It means you speak with precision. It means your words are rare, but when they arrive, they carry the weight of mountains. The undisciplined man speaks much and says little. The disciplined man speaks little and says much. Ask yourself, what would happen if you trained your silence? What would change if you chose words like arrows, not like dust? Would people not listen more closely, respect more deeply, follow more willingly? Silence is not the absence of voice. It is the discipline of voice. And those who master it rule themselves, and by ruling themselves they command the respect of the world. There is a silence that is louder than thunder. It is the silence of presence. When a man walks into a room without words, yet every eye turns. When a leader stands before his people, and the weight of his calm silences the crowd. This is not accident. This is the aura of discipline, the presence of silence. The Stoics understood that silence carries a force words cannot match. Epictetus told his students that character speaks before the tongue ever moves. Marcus Aurelius lived this truth. He did not win loyalty by shouting commands. He won it by being still in chaos, calm in storms, disciplined in every act. His silence created gravity, and men orbited him by choice, not by fear. Think of the difference between noise and presence. Noise demands attention, but presence attracts it. Noise fades quickly, but presence lingers. Noise shouts, but presence whispers and still commands. That is the paradox of silence. It appears small, but it holds immense weight. You too have felt this. The teacher who did not need to raise his voice to command respect. The elder whose silence in a family argument spoke louder than anyone's words. The friend who listened deeply instead of speaking, and in his silence you found comfort. Presence is born from silence. Ask yourself, Do you create noise, or do you carry presence? Do people hear your words, then forget them? Or do they feel your silence and remember it? Silence builds presence, and presence builds respect, and respect builds influence without a single word spoken. The world will test you. It will provoke, insult, tempt, and push you to react. Noise will surround you. Chaos will seek to drown you. Anger will demand you answer. But silence is the calm in the storm, the eye of the hurricane that cannot be touched. Imagine a man walking through a marketplace. Insults are thrown, lies are whispered, mockery echoes. The man does not respond. He walks with calm, his silence like a shield. The crowd grows restless, frustrated, until their noise collapses under the weight of his stillness. That is power. Not the power to strike back, but the power to remain untouchable. The Stoics were tested in this way constantly. They were mocked, exiled, betrayed, yet they trained their minds to remain calm. They knew that reaction is slavery, but silence is freedom. For when you choose silence, you declare, "You do not own me. You cannot provoke me. My peace is mine." Think of your own storms. The coworker who pushes your buttons, the family member who provokes, the stranger who offends. Each is a wave crashing against you, seeking reaction. If you answer every wave, you will drown. If you remain still, you will stand. Ask yourself, are you pulled by every noise, every insult, every storm? Or can you hold silence? Can you be the calm in chaos? Imagine the power you would have if nothing could provoke you. Imagine the strength if no storm could touch your peace. Silence is not escape. Silence is not surrender. Silence is command. It is the calm in the storm, the choice that says, "I am not your puppet. I am my own master." Silence is more than a shield. It is a mirror. When you step into silence, you face yourself. Without noise, without distraction, without the world's endless voices, there you are, naked, honest, real. This is why most people fear silence. They avoid it with music, with chatter, with screens, with endless words, because in silence, their soul speaks, and they are not ready to listen. But those who dare to enter silence find truth. No book can teach. The Stoics sought this mirror daily. They woke before dawn to sit in quiet reflection. They asked themselves, "What have I done wrong? What have I done well? Where must I improve?" Marcus Aurelius filled his journals with these questions. They were not meant for others. They were meant for himself, born from silence. Think about your life. When was the last time you sat in silence without distraction? No phone, no noise, just you and your thoughts. Did you feel restless? Did you feel anxious? Did you feel the urge to run? That is your soul telling you there is work to be done. But if you stay, if you listen, silence becomes a teacher. It reveals what you hide. It confronts what you avoid. It strengthens what you neglect. Noise distracts. Silence heals. Ask yourself, do you run from silence, or do you walk into it? Do you fear what it will reveal, or do you have the courage to let it sharpen you? The highest mastery of silence is not in moments of conflict, nor in storms of anger, but in everyday life. It is to wear silence as a crown, to carry it as part of your being. The crown of silence is presence without noise. It is walking through the world unshaken by insult, unprovoked by chaos, undistracted by the noise of fools. It is speaking rarely but with weight, so that when you speak, people listen. The Stoics wore this crown. They were not silent out of fear, but out of strength. They knew that the one who governs his tongue governs his life, and the one who governs his silence governs his soul. Think of the contrast. The man of noise fills the air, but empties himself. The man of silence fills himself and empties the air. The first leaves nothing behind. The second leaves an imprint that lingers. This crown can be yours. It is not bought. It is not given. It is earned day by day. In every moment, you choose discipline over impulse, Stillness over reaction, silence over noise. Ask yourself, do you wear the crown of silence? Or are you still chained by the need to be heard? Do you govern your tongue? Or does your tongue govern you? For silence is not absence. Silence is authority. Silence is mastery. Silence is freedom. You have now seen the power of silence. It is not weakness. It is not emptiness. It is the highest form of strength. It disarms enemies. It builds presence. It heals the soul. It crowns the one who dares to master it. But there is one more step. For silence alone is not the end. Silence is the space where something greater begins. In silence, you discover your true voice. In silence, you realize you are the author of your life. And with that pen, you can rewrite the story that has kept you bound. In the next part of Master Your Mind, we will enter that story. We will uncover how to break free from the old narrative, how to reclaim the pen, and how to write the life you were meant to live. Stay with me. Part 9 is waiting. And it will show you that silence was never the final word, but the beginning of a new chapter.